Order. If you're all joining me for a moment of silence after the Pledge of Allegiance, I appreciate it in honor of course people who can't be here today, and those whose lives have changed since then. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome everyone. I see that we have one visitor here. Would you introduce yourself, sir?
Sure. My name is Marcello D'Alessandro. I live in Walpole, and I have a couple of daughters in the high school.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks.
All right. First order of business is the approval of minutes. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to approve the August 28th, 2023 public.
And do I have a second?
Second. Oh, just seconded it.
Oh, Sarah did it. I'm sorry. Does anybody have any questions, concerns in the minute?
Cool. My question was answered.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Beautiful, thank you. Would you like to speak? Do you have something you'd like to say? Okay,
Nothing.
well, thanks very much. So I move to Lori and her business report.
Okay. So I wanted to touch base on the audit. I did mention that we had worked on getting that released. Was one of the first things that one of my projects I had to work on. But we didn't talk about it. So I just want to kind of give you a summary. There was an unmodified opinion on both the financial statements and the compliance audits, because we had spent over $750,000 in federal funds. We have the compliance audits, and that's pretty much an annual thing because of the size of the grants that we spend. So there's two separate opinions, but they were unmodified in both cases. There were no material weaknesses noted in either audits, the compliance or the financial audit. There were no significant deficiencies noted. There was an audit finding for child nutrition. We weren't able to provide evidence that the verification effort was performed during the fiscal year. So, that will be resolved this year. We have a very short window of time opportunity. We can submit for a extension, 1 month extension if we need to. But otherwise the verification efforts occur in October into November, and then we have to submit a report to the state. And the verification is process is sampling the free and reduced applications that have been submitted. And if they're like reduced or denied by a small margin, they might show up in the sample. Or if we have cause to believe that there might be some misinformation, we can pull those. Usually it's just a sample basis, so I haven't been anywhere where I've had to pull anything. So, but anyway, then we contact the families and request proof of the income, and then we go from there. So that was the audit. You had asked about a lawsuit update. Judge Ruoff, as I mentioned, he had stayed the Rand case because he feels that there's a very likelihood that the order for the Conval case could impact the Rand case. So that case is stayed while he's working on the order, and our attorneys told me today that they're expecting it anywhere from early October up until the end of the year. So thanks in the next 3 months or so. Hopefully we'll have an answer. All right, and then the other thing I want to talk about was the special meeting that we're having next week for under RSA 197.3A. Essentially, there are two pieces to this. We have revenue, and then we have a choice on appropriation. The revenue, the state made the decision for us on that. They statutorily changed the calculation for revenue. That's why we're getting more money back. And we're getting it back whether we want to or not, we're getting the money back. What the board and the public, well, has to decide, I guess the public has to decide, is, are we going to be allowed to spend any of that? Okay, and so if we're spending it, then the public has to vote that, we have to put out, we have to post our budget with a warrant article, indicating how we anticipate using it. So the discussion at our last meeting was, parking lot was focused, so it would go under function 26, and it would be method 3 for the apportionment. So, if the appropriations are increased to spend any amount of the 280,000, it then is apportioned per our methods, which is method 3 for repair and maintenance. So what that looks like. The town. I've done an analysis, I took the analysis that you guys usually get about the tax rate. So you can see how it impacts tax rates for each community. Thank you. So you can see there, we have the fiscal year 23 tax rate, and then the next column is based on the budget that was passed in March. We expected or anticipated the local tax assessment to change anywhere from reducing for Langdon to increasing for Walpole. The next column is what would the impact be based on the change in the revenue, the increased revenue. So if we just accepted the money, sent it all back to the towns, you can see that our tax assessments in total only increased by 1.2 million instead of 1.5 million. Is that full 300 plus thousand is going back. If we do choose to do an appropriation, the public gives us that permission. The impact is you have your revenue coming in, and then you give your apportionment going out. And so then that's a change of 1.4 million instead of the 1.5 based on the budget that we previously passed. So then you can see what the estimated local rates will be down below. And the reason I put this out there for you is just that the warrant article has a limitation on what we can put out there for apportionment. It's not the full revenue that's being returned to us because the 197 was it 197.3A limits what we can choose to apportion based on the factors that were statutorily changed. And so when we look at that, it's like 280,000, 408,000. Instead of the full 398 or something like that, 358. And that varies by community. So it can get confusing. So I just wanted to put the information out there that, if there's concern about equity perhaps for the communities, you might want to consider giving them all of the money back towards their taxes. It's a significant impact. Otherwise, the choice that is going out there, I believe, is for repair and maintenance, and it was discussed for the parking lot. It will be apportioned, again, any choices we make, it's gonna be apportioned based on the methods. So you can't look at it and say that, okay, well, community A gets this dollar amount, community B gets that. We have to align with our articles of agreement and stick with the methods.
So can we have a discussion of this? Okay, So I have some serious concerns with this, and I appreciate seeing it in this format as well. But I think we need to consider if there's a different way that we can approach this. And I keep hearing that it has to go back via our apportionment, and I don't understand why that is. Like, I can understand it if it's that way because we're giving it back against the tax rates, because that's the only option we've had so far to give surplus back. But in this instance, this is excess or additional adequacy aid, which comes to us in vastly different ways, because we have vastly different needs between the 5 towns. And so I'm really struggling with this constraint saying we have to give it back, which essentially works out to ADM. In all honesty, if Charlestown at this point, according to November's number, 46.3% of the students are from Charlestown, and 177,000 of the 280,000 actually is credited to Charlestown, we're way far apart. I mean, that's 63% of the 280,000. And so I don't think in good conscience that we can settle with saying, we're gonna just send it back via ADM. And I don't know what else to do with that.
So when you say send it back, you're talking about the revenue piece. The
Yes.
revenue piece, the adequacy aid that comes in that was used to build our budget in March, that was passed in March,
Mhm.
is based on the adequacy formula, which is largely based on ADM. The calculation changed, no, I'm talking
Yeah, I'm
about the
trying to
adequacy
understand.
aid, not the apportionment. The apportionment is different.
Adequacy doesn't have anything to do with ADM.
It doesn't at all.
It's
And the
Based on the
adequacy aid is the state's version of equalized valuation.
It's based on the number of students, which is our ADM numbers. You get an X number of dollars per head. And then you get differentiation for different. Like, free and reduced, reading, ELL, special ed. So that's when I say it's based on ADM, that's why, because those dollar amounts are per student.
But it's not per student district wide, it's per pre-existing district in our cooperative. Each of the 5 towns has their own adequacy aid number.
Yes, which is factored into the 920, the second column as well, when the revenue's coming back. It's using that same formula and basis. The adequacy, I can't change the way the adequacy aid goes back to the towns. That is established by the state and the formulas by the state. We don't have a say on that. That's the revenue piece. So that revenue piece is coming in, they changed their formula and their calculation. And so the monies that are coming back are attributed to the towns based on the state guidance.
Right, and so if 177,000 of that should be spent on Charlestown students because they're the ones who are the neediest, or they have indicated a need for more adequacy aid, how do we make sure that they're getting that percentage, that money directly affecting their education?
So again, the adequacy aid is the revenue, that's full 300 plus thousand,
Okay,
okay? That's what's going back to the towns. The amount that we can choose to spend is the 280,000. And that, because of our formulas, our apportionment formulas would dictate how we're using that, or the choices that we make on how to spend that money will dictate how that channels back to the town. So
Correct.
they're 2 separate components.
Okay, so if we decide, or if the voters decide that they don't want us to spend the money, they just want it to come back as the state intention, then like Alyssa said, Charlestown gets the bulk of it, blah, blah, blah. Okay, if we choose to spend it, then it gets charged to the towns a different way, depending on where we put it.
Yes,
I
based
get
on your
I get it.
methods.
Yep, I get it.
So that's the piece that you have, that the public has an option to direct.
Right. We just have to make it really crystal clear to the public, because it was foggy to me until just now. I get it.
Well, I want that light bulb that you just had, cause I still don't have it yet, so.
So I'm not nearly as versed on all this as Alyssa and Andy is. So Charlestown, out of that 280,000, is it 280? Is that what I'm reading right for the adequacy aid that came in?
No, the 280 is what we can choose to spend.
So how much was the total adequacy aid that we
Yeah,
are
so
getting
let
back?
Let me pull that schedule up. All right, so we were going to receive, based on their November estimates, we were gonna receive $8,971,759. We are receiving an additional $358,870.
So 358,000,
870,
Additional.
that's the revenue that's coming in.
right?
We can spend up to 280.
So 358,000, and out of that 358,000 of adequacy. 177,000, sort of,
Actually, Charlestown has $216,103.
out of that 358.
Yes,
So if the
216.
if the money was to be returned, Charlestown will get the full
benefit
200 and something thousand,
16,103.
and they will get that full amount back.
Yes.
There is a chart that's on the state website that it's extremely huge, but it's what Melissa has there that shows all of the breakdown for all the towns in the state. If anybody wants to take a look at that.
I think at some point,
It's very nice.
maybe I can schedule some time with you, Lori, because I still have a hard time wrapping around that we have a town that through all this piece of it, with Charlestown pulling in the majority of the money, is going negative 1.74%.
Yes.
Their change based on the budget that passed in March was a negative. It was a return already. Their taxes were already being reduced by $12,000.
Okay.
Did you get
Okay.
a different slip than I did? Cause that negative 1.74% looks like Langdon to me.
It is.
Yeah.
I didn't call out a town, I just said there was a town.
Hey, town.
Well, and then it's finished.
But when I took the webinar for this, they stated that if anybody was negative like this, they would go by the old numbers. So, Charlestown, Langdon probably wouldn't be negative. They have their choice. They can take either set of numbers. What would have been before they redid all of this adequacy aid, if, they just have to file a form to get it the other way, according to the notes that I took here. And I have that same chart that Alyssa has, I just have it on my phone. But, it was very interesting in how complicated they made it now with the additional aid for the extraordinary grant and the additional aid for the, what's this other one, the 104% of the, grant estimate, and they went through all of that, which was fascinating, but, yeah, the bottom line was that, Alsted, because of where we sit, I represent Alsted if anybody cares. The changes aren't that big a deal to us, because nothing, we're like mediocre town of the state, so. We don't really get a benefit either way. It's kind of weird being, we're right in that little spot. But, at any rate, I'm just hoping that we can get some money to pave the parking lot. If not, we'll have to find that money someplace else.
What are we gonna do to make sure that the public is fully aware of what they're voting on and are making an informed decision? Like, are we gonna put this out? Are we gonna send an email? I mean, cause this is not only parents, but stakeholders across the board, so
Mhm.
are we gonna, I mean, the meeting's what, next week? So
The hearing is Thursday.
Which you'll be,
via Zoom.
and then the 5th is the actual meeting session.
So we had the hearing, but on top of the hearing, because we know that those are usually pretty weekly it's not a high attendance rate. So how do we get this out to them on top of the public hearing? Because I certainly don't want members of the public picking a parking lot if in fact it could benefit them.
I think that the information, this is good information for somebody that does this all the time, that is kind of familiar with it. For the general public, this is complicated. I think what's very simple is to have a form or make a statement that says, if you vote no on this article, and the school district is gonna return this money to each town as it was intended, this is the lump sum that each town is gonna get. Doesn't have to say anything about tax rate, this or that, say if Charlestown's gonna get 100 and something, all the way down the line. Charlestown will get the bulk of it, because they're the neediest. And then if this warrant article passes, if we use the money for what we are intending to use it for, the parking lot, then this is how much each town is gonna contribute. And it's gonna be a different calculation than what you get back, because it's a different project. It just has to be very simplified,
And those are the two main factors that people need to see and make
Yeah.
a choice on, so I'd appreciate
Okay.
that. Is that something we can, get sent to us so we can look at it, so we just know what we're presenting, obviously?
If the public gets this money back, they're getting it back as state adequacy aid. If we spend it, we're not spending it as state adequacy aid. We're spending it as tax money, and this is how it's gonna be apportioned.
So return and cost,
Correct,
not a net.
correct. This is very confusing
Mhm.
to most people.
Yes.
It was.
This was a
confusing to me. I was like, what the heck am I looking at?
Amy, do you think that message should come from the board? Or should that message come from the business?
I think we should make a statement because we're presenting the article. And I think that Lori just needs to have like a sheet, a handout, very simple.
Do you think we should state in there somewhere that, anybody that's like driven down here knows that sometime, at some point, we're going to have to fix this parking lot?
No,
People may not know or never been here that know what kind of shape it's in.
and those people probably don't care,
Yeah,
I think it's just our due diligence is that every year, we make a proposal and we put it forward.
Kevin did have his hand up.
Yes, please.
I'm sorry.
So, I make a lot of videos for school. Do you think us making it just a short video presentation, I'll help Alyssa make a short video presentation, and just putting that on Facebook and social media would be a better way to do it than putting it in print?
I approve.
Okay,
Let's
I
go
am good.
technology savvy.
I'm okay with that, but I'd like to do it in print as well. I like to read things, and so we can present it in two different ways.
I think it should be done in print first, so that we are reiterating what's in print and just in a short, probably more than a 2-minute video. That's to say exactly what you said.
Yeah, basically, you're gonna go on screen and say that, we are gonna present a choice to you. And
PowerPoint on the side.
And
I don't know.
I do think that we need to be clear that the adequacy aid, and you can call Charlestown out for that, is the bulk of that money. And that if they vote this way, they'll get that money back. If they're voting this way, they're actually paying in more than 46 point whatever percent. That if this project went via a warrant article through the capital improvements, that's what Charlestown would pay. So we would be paying much more than 46 point something percent, and as a, well, we all represent each other, but I really think it's important for that town to have all of the knowledge, because like Andy said, you can put it, these graphs are great. But they're, yeah. They even confuse me, which doesn't take much, but.
So my concern is, so one, I love the video idea. It needs to come from the board. It can't appear to come from administration at all. So the district website or Facebook probably isn't a good venue.
Doesn't the school board have a section on the website?
On the website, yes, but I'm saying on Facebook or anything like that. Do you guys have your own?
We have United We Stand, which is not.
Well, the board doesn't,
No,
but
no,
yes,
board
there,
doesn't. Okay, that's
there are avenues, there are social media, Facebook sites that the school board could share that with, or share it with specific people to get it to those. You have town forums that it could go out on. Like Lori said, I think we just need to make it abundantly clear that this is a school board presentation or a school board video. And I don't know if you do like a claimer on there somewhere, but just to make sure that everybody is fully aware that this is a message from the school board.
As a select board member, how do you think it's something that we should present at every select board meeting?
I don't think it would be a bad idea. I'm not so sure select board meetings are strongly attended either.
No, but they're definitely stakeholders who make decisions based on what the school is doing.
Yeah. You're just gonna run out of time though. So
Yeah.
you get 5, you have nothing else to do. If you wanna go on a publicity run like Dr. Spence, cause I feel like it started something now, so.
No, but I just want to make sure the people who are the decision makers are seeing this and can have the appropriate conversations in their town.
I think you could send the video to all the admins in each town and they can distribute it to board members, and then board
sounds
members can distribute it how they feel it may be important in the best way.
So what about, Misty, were you planning on sending out, is it too early or too late to do like a little mini digest on one article? So that it goes to every box holder? Cause you know, the websites and all this stuff is great if people go on them. And there's a lot more taxpayers than people that are interested in the education, even though they foot the bill.
So when do we usually do that before the hearing? Yeah. Which is
There's just
Thursday,
not enough time.
right?
Okay.
So, I would just also, I'm running a risk here. I would just caution that you also need to make sure that you're sharing the same level of information for each community and not emphasizing one.
It's a fine line in electioneering,
Right.
like a super fine line.
Oh, yeah.
When we put out any information, that's why we only put out what we put out.
Yeah, hopefully we're just putting out facts.
Yeah, it would be the same.
But the same level of facts for each community.
Yeah.
And
That was
we-
per legal.
Lori doesn't
I
want me
asked
to,
them this already.
Lori
Is
doesn't
that
want
it
the
needs to be
video
a
to
decision?
stand up and I don't blame her. If it's illegal, we don't wanna do it. But I think it's that part of saying Charlestown's paying more for the
Well,
driveway.
Yeah, I think it's better, I mean, like you can put out the fact pattern that, you know, 46 versus the 60 and do that comparison for each community, and then it's abundantly clear, but I just would caution that would need to be presented in a fair manner.
I think it's black and white.
I think before we send it anywhere, we can let Misty review it and make sure that
Yes.
We're
we
not
could run the
electioneering.
by the administration first, just to have administration review the script, make sure it's not electioneering, would that be?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you send it, if you wanna send it to me, I'll send it off to legal and just have them take a look at it.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's the best thing to do.
All right, I guess we got a project.
Okay.
Okay,
I don't have anything.
well, thank you for that. I appreciate having, the information at hand. All right. Does anybody have any concerns or questions with the consent agenda? Anything we want to take off for discussion?
I think I'll see, just because I want more information.
Perfect. Did everybody have a chance to see the new personnel list? Okay. All right, then I will accept a motion to accept the consent agenda. With C removed. Unless Shelley, you want to move something else?
Which one's C?
The stipend matrix?
Are we gonna talk about it? Okay, good. Nope, I'm good.
I make a motion to accept the consent agenda without C.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Well, Lex, you've accepted it, so. So the soccer tournaments were part of our consent agenda, so we have permission to do Sunday tournaments.
Sounds good to me.
Thank you.
So just
I don't
because you,
speak for every coach, however.
because you showed up and I don't know how much Sunday event stuff you've dealt with, but over the years, I've been a big proponent of sticking to our Sunday, policy. And so obviously, when things are out of our control, like you have to go to away tournaments, we approve them. If you were hosting a tournament on a Sunday, from my seat, it would be not approved.
Do we have the intention of hosting? the
No,
tournament?
I'm just saying for your information.
You can organize anything you want, just bring it.
I don't know why you came then, but
I just,
I thought you.
well, I'm a
that we might
taxpayer,
have,
Andy.
we might have a problem.
Just in case there's any questions.
I just want to
Appreciate
get in the
being
habit
here.
of being here.
Oh, okay, great.
We're all good people to hang out with.
It wasn't about, yeah, I'm not here for soccer
Nice.
necessarily. I'm a
Okay.
stakeholder, obviously, but, not the reason.
Perfect.
Just kind of feeling out Kevin's shoes a little bit.
Yep.
My
That's good.
intention. But first time with each other.
All right, then, let's have a discussion about the stipend matrix.
I just wondered, so this is all coming from Charlestown Middle School, is that correct, what I understood? And are these newly budgeted, like obviously they're not budgeted positions, how are we paying for these new stipends?
So, there was through a resignation of a full-time position.
Okay,
So it's just a small
Three,
portion.
yeah,
of-
reallocating a portion.
So no new money.
Shelley?
First time I've ever seen this. How do we come up with these numbers?
So historically, years ago, they were based off a percentage of the teachers' contracts, but over the years, they've kind of morphed and changed, so they're just. The admin team look at it every year during budget season and adjust it accordingly, based on time.
Okay. Because I don't really know why maybe some coaches get a whole lot more than another coach.
Has to do with the season, how long the seasons are.
Okay.
We can definitely bring these questions to the budget committee and see if there's things we want to do differently.
Have they seen this?
I would expect so, but it's a good question to ask. So I have a question and perhaps Lex would be the one to answer it. What is the difference between the middle school team leader and a lead teacher? Because we now have both or potentially have both.
Middle school team leader and lead teacher. So, I don't want to speak out of turn for Corey. With the restructuring, the addition of the 5th grade, we now have the lead teacher position has been, we have the same lead teacher that we've had, and Corey is establishing or is seeking to establish lead positions for the grade 5-16 as well as the grade 7-18. In
So
addition
is
to
that-
the lead teacher,
In addition to,
correct? So I think the lead teacher position is there to sort of be Corey's lieutenant, or in the event that she's not there, takes on the administrative role. Whereas the team leads are, I don't know if it makes sense to compare it to a department head, so to speak, here at the high school, but somebody who sort of handles logistical things related to, activities that are specific to those particular grade levels. Is my understanding of it, but again, please don't put my words in Victoria's mouth, she's the one to ask about it.
okay. Does anybody have any other questions? Anything else you want to discuss?
To add to that, actually,
Go for it.
I know, part of the restructuring involved, sort of an overhaul of the behavior program and discipline at the school. That includes a certain amount of programming designed to incentivize the behavior we're looking for. I do know that one of the roles fulfilled by these new team leads is coordinating some of the activities that we use as sort of like a reward structure for those things. Those are weekly events and they do take a certain amount of planning. So I think the idea of a stipend position for that is generally to compensate those teachers for the additional time that it takes to plan that out, just to clarify in case that hadn't been made clear to you guys.
Well, on that note, I actually have asked Corey to come to our October 9th meeting to talk about all of those programs that she's putting in place in the school. It's pretty amazing. So that said, makes sense to me that there's somebody in addition to what's there currently to make sure those programs go off without a hitch and the kids all get what they deserve out of it. So thank you for that synopsis.
Yeah,
It's what?
there's been a lot of buy-in by the staff. We're all pretty excited to see like what some of these changes are gonna look like year, 2 years down the road.
We are too.
We're excited.
Well, thanks for sharing that. So with that all being said, can I have a motion to accept?
Make a motion to accept the stipend matrix revision and the CMS pilot stipend description, I suppose.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. All right. Has everybody seen the treasurer's report as it's gone around today? It's already gone back already? All right, can I just publicly say I really appreciate the form that's put in. You have made this so much easier. I hope it's easier for you as well.
She doesn't have anything to compare it to.
I know. Let me tell you why, it's a whole lot easier.
I appreciate this versus what I brought to you at the last meeting. And I will, we're still, working, with new staff to have the manifest consistently available on Thursday, but of course, this week was a holiday week, so that made it difficult as well.
Well, I think Joe and myself are willing to be a little flexible on those things, so we can make it all work. All right, do I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Beautiful. I don't believe we have a non-public this evening.
You have a list.
Oh, gosh, I totally missed that whole part. Report.
Oh, it's just information, it's just included. If you to read, and then the draft, if you wanna take a look, it's just FYI. It's kind of still in draft phase, because we're still coordinating with the budget committee on pulling together workshop days and that sort of thing, but most of it is pretty well in place. So it's just an FYI. So, yeah.
Thank you, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta do this for Goshen.
Just cut and paste the next week.
Do we have a non-public?
We don't.
We have a meeting on Thursday?
We do.
What time?
6 o'clock. Here. Yes.
You have a question?
No, I'm
Wanna have a
curious
non-public?
whether or not anybody's gonna go ahead and do your thing, you know, it's
Oh.
like, it's a little early. But I'm thinking if we're meeting on Thursday, that maybe everybody would like to. I'm going to try to attend via Zoom, but I'm leaving for Missouri on Friday, so. Other than that, ready? I make a motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Beautiful. Thank you very much.
Oh my gosh. Look how excited this is.
Misty, how's
You got
Dr.
some
Spence's roadshow been going?
Good.
Yeah.
Very good. Yep. He's gonna miss this week. We have to postpone them.